Planning Commission meeting to order. Welcome to the March 2025 Huntington Beach Planning, March 25th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. While the Planning Commission welcomes public involvement and free speech, it rejects comments from anyone that are discriminatory, defamatory, or otherwise not protected speech. Those comments will not inform nor be considered by the Planning Commission and may cause the chair to interrupt the speaker. Such comments will not be consented or otherwise adopted by the Planning Commission in its discussions and findings for any matters tonight. Thank you. All right, I would like to call on Commissioner McGee for Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Please stand, place the flag, and put your right hand over your heart for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the republic for which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, may we have a roll call, please?
Wood.
Here.
Bellman is absent. Vice Chair Bush.
Here.
Chair Theonis.
Present.
Babineau.
Here.
Goldberg. Here. McGee.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, now is the time for public comments for items that are not on the agenda tonight. Do we have any public comments for items not on the agenda?
We do. We have Antoinette Del Pearl. And I just want to make sure, Perry Clitheroe, if you are planning on speaking on public comments as opposed to the public hearing, please come down as well.
Good evening. I'm Antoinette Del Pearl, and I wasn't sure if this was the right meeting, but I thought I better go ahead and start. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. And the little extra that I'm here for is actually celebrating Veterans Day. I'm shocked and saddened that our little city, Huntington Beach, one of the most famous cities in our country, that has and requires ID to vote. We do not celebrate Veterans Day anymore. I was shocked and saddened. As of January 2024, I found out that there is no more celebration of Veterans Day in this city. And the only way I found out is last Veterans Day, 2024, our whole area there in the condominium complex I am involved in and where I live, we had it fumigated. I called the police department as well as Caltrans to make sure that it's going to be legal to park on these streets because there's going to be hundreds of parking spots not available to us for 5 days. And when I did that, Huntington Beach, November the 4th and 5th, I spoke to the parking division, and they said, don't worry about it. It's a holiday, and that's what I thought. I had business. I had to go away. Came back on November the 12th. I had a ticket. I paid the ticket, tried to appeal it. I didn't win. But what really saddened me is that there is no more Veterans Day, and I want you guys to know, and I promise to come to a other type of city meeting that the council people are here as well, and the mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. Thank you for hearing us this evening. My name is Perry Clitheroe, and I'm here in opposition to tonight's meeting. The only valid item on the agenda is approving the meeting minutes from February 11th, and I think that could have been done next time. And the other item on the agenda is really stupid. I'm not sure if staff is salaried or not, but regardless of whether we're wasting their time or our money, I think this is a wasteful exercise, and I'm angered to see property owners harassed over such a petty issue in the United States of America. As some of you may be aware, I'm opposed to much of what this body does. I think that over the course of many decades, city councils have taken the rights of property owners for themselves. I'm a patriotic American. I love our traditions of liberty and freedom. I'm also a capitalist, and I love the economy that free enterprise has built for the American people. I'm convinced that the single biggest issue holding back the American people economically are thousands of city councils all across the country deciding what can be built, when it can be built, and how it can be built. Substituting their judgment for the judgment of property owners, it's just not good. You folks inherited these wide-reaching and expansive powers of government. You guys did not create them, and I'm not blaming you for them. I urge you to stop taking these powers for granted or assuming that we must govern in this fashion simply because that's how we have been doing it. You are smothering the American people. These laws are destroying our ability to build the lives that we see fit for ourselves today. If it's not too late, I urge Comrade Kennedy to withdraw his appeal and allow everybody to go home and allow the Whitakers to build their fence without suffering this farce of a meeting that we call government. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more speakers?
We do. Kelly Frankowise, if you would come down. Frankowitz. Sorry about that.
A former chaplain who used to speak as an invocator for the city council. And what I want to talk about has nothing to do with tonight's big issue at all. So relax. I live on Main Street, incidentally, across the street from the big issue. But in order to get out from where I am, I need to turn eastwardly on Palm, which then means a left or right turn onto Lake. And for 10 years, it's like playing Frogger. You cannot see the traffic coming in either direction, and you're there. Okay, can I go? Can I go? Can I go? Can you see anything over there? Can we go? All right, what we really need would fix it would be one of those fisheye mirrors on a pole right across from Lake on the east side of Lake, right across from Palm. Then we'd be able to see what's coming and not be putting ourselves in jeopardy coming out into traffic. As city planners, I hope you'll consider this. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no more public comments.
Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing on the appeal of the zoning administrator's approval of conditional use permit number 24026. Planning commissioners, please state your disclosures, starting on my left side here.
None to report.
I need to recuse myself, Chairman.
Okay.
I spoke with Councilman Kennedy, and I did speak with one of the individuals representing the project going forward. I don't remember his name, but I did speak with him about the project.
And I spoke with Councilman Kennedy as well. For Bush.
Councilman Kennedy, I spoke with.
All right. Okay, staff, may we please have a report?
Marco Cuevas, Associate Planner, will be giving the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Chair Thenas and Planning Commissioners. The item before you this evening is the appeal to zoning administrator's approval of conditional use permit 24-026. The Tiempo security fence continued from the February 11th, 2025 meeting. The property address is 625 and 627 Main Street. So the request is to permit the construction of a 6-foot-tall, open slat, wrought iron fence within the front setback in lieu of the maximum height of 42 inches. It's also to allow the reduced vehicle stacking distance of 7 feet, 2.5 inches in lieu of the minimum 20 feet located at the front driveway entrance, and to allow the proposed fence within portions of the required 10-foot visibility triangles located at the front entry and rear alley exit. So a bit of a background. The subject property is located in yellow and is an irregular shaped property located at 627, 625 Main Street in the downtown area with a general plan and zoning classification of CG, a general commercial or commercial general. The property is unique due to its shape and commercial designation and is surrounded by streets and residential uses. The property previously operated as a mortuary for several years and is presently operating as a business escrow office. Due to a history of security issues that include trespassers, litter debris, human and animal urination and defecation, the property owners are seeking a 6-foot-tall wrought iron fence to secure the property and the business itself. Here in the image, you could see the property is highlighted in yellow, and you'll see it's near the end, or at the intersection of 7th Palm and Main Street. And this following image is the general plan map is to the left, and then to the right is the zoning map. So the subject commercial property along the adjacent southerly residential properties have shared the same CG or commercial general zoning designation for several years. The adjacent residential properties have since been rezoned as RMHA, residential medium high density, and that would be this area here, south of the subject property. They were rezoned RMHA, residential medium high density, small lot subdistrict, as a part of general plan consistency cleanup in late 2024. However, the subject property was not part of this cleanup and thus maintaining its CG zoning designation consistent with the general plan and existing on-site commercial use. Although the two abutting zoning designations are now distinct from each other, the maximum height of 42 inches for, are now distinct from each other, sorry. The maximum height of 42 inches for walls and fences within a front setback is similar in both zones. The CG zone has a minimum of 10 feet, of a 10 feet front setback, and the RMHA requires 12 feet. However, the zoning code does allow for deviations from the maximum height requirement for walls and fences, subject to approval of a conditional use permit by the zoning administrator, and the city has approved similar fence height requests for residential properties in the past. And just for clarification, there is no zone change associated with this specific request. This is a site plan, and to the right is the elevations, but onto the site plan, you'll see that the back of the sidewalk is indicated with this yellow line. You see the property line is indicated in the blue line. And we've noted where the red triangle's at. Those represent the visibility triangles, which are present at the front entrance and at the rear exit of the property for the driveway entrance. And let's see. Earlier, I also mentioned that there's the stacking issue with the property as well, where it's noted here, where I'm kind of pointing with the cursor at 7.5, when it should be 20 feet. And once again, the image to the upper right is the elevation of the fence, showing that it's a thin slat design and showing a height of 6 feet. So next we have the rendering of what the intended look of the fence and gate is supposed to look like. This is the rendering showing that the proposed fence, as intended, the visual character of the neighborhood will not be negatively impacted because the landscaping will be provided to enhance the appearance of the fence along the street frontage. The thin wrought iron design matches the recent improvements of the building on-site and other fences in the vicinity. The existing 10-foot wide planter will be maintained, and landscaping will be enhanced to soften the appearance of the fence and create an attractive streetscape. The proposed fence is of suitable scale for residential and commercial applications. So once again, this image is artist's rendition of what the fence would look like to scale. And as you can see, well, from the rendering, it looks fairly attractive, and it does not represent a industrial type of fence due to its design, as I mentioned, because of the thin slats and of the height. So as as far as the zoning administrator action, the project was presented at the November 20th, 2024 zoning administrator hearing, and three residents neighboring the subject property identified multiple concerns with the design and setback, in addition to compatibility concerns with the surrounding neighborhood. The applicant explained that the fence was needed to further secure the commercial property, considering the new use and significant investment in new property owners have made to improve the subject property. Additionally, the fence was designed to integrate around the existing parking lot to maintain drive aisle widths and retain the amount of existing parking in conformance with city standards. Following the discussion between staff, the applicant, and the neighboring property owners, the zoning administrator found that the project complies with the general plan, meets the findings of a CUP, and approved the project with modified findings and conditions of approval. And on to the appeal. On November 22nd, 2024, the zoning administrator's approval was appealed by City Council Member Don Kennedy, citing the following reasons: that the project is in direct contrast to the residential zoning designation recently granted to the 600 block of Main Street and lacks any compatibility with residential homes on historic Main Street. Sorry, I need to get my notes in order here. So this next slide shows the following images from taken approximately from 2022, which shows the building, the subject property, before the current ownership, which indicates that the building was basically vacant, it was neglected, it was outdated, and it has unkept landscaping. So from these pictures, you can see that the property was in a degraded state and was in much need of a lot of TLC, a lot of refurbishment. As you could see, by contrast, under the current ownership, the current owners have made significant investments to the property to greatly improve the aesthetic of the building, which include new surface treatments, new roof, building and safety upgrades, as well as accessibility improvements and landscaping. So you could see it's just, in general, it's just a much more attractive and welcoming addition to the existing community. As far as surroundings, these slides, these images show what's within the near vicinity of and adjacent properties of the subject property. The range of architectural styles varies as much as the types of walls and fencing that surround each property. The majority of the homes along the south side of Main Street are older historical homes with white picket fences, as we could see in this center picture here. By contrast, the homes located on east side of Main Street are newer homes with block walls and fences that correspond to the home's individual style. As you could see, to the east of the site on this image that I'm pointing to here. And that's just one example of the many that are prevalent within that site. And to the west of the subject property, along 7th Street are more examples of contemporary modern homes next to older, minimally modified structures. And that could be indicated by the properties such as this one here. It shows a newer structure, modern structures, 3 stories tall, but once again, the walls correspond to the style of the building itself. And towards the southeast portion of Main Street, there's the large frontier commercial building that is built to the property line. But within this small area alone, as you could see from the images included, that there's a tremendous amount of architectural style and diversity that exists within that small neighborhood. And although some homes have been noted as having historical significance, That significance does not extend beyond the specific properties themselves, nor is the neighborhood designated as a formal historic district. The character of the surrounding neighborhood consists of a mix of architectural styles, and they all contribute to the diversity that is present within that neighborhood. This next slide shows fencing and walls that were approved with entitlements, with CUPs, and see. And so, in all these examples, they all represent, as I mentioned, entitlements for conditional use permits, so that they could build above the 42-inch front setback limit. So as also can be seen, there's a variety of heights, materials, and designs that were used to integrate with the individual property as well as the surrounding neighborhood. So from this top image, you could see a main street, there's a post office. This fence is built at 8 feet tall and includes a black bottom portion, but this one was approved at 8 feet tall. At this other property, 618 Huntington Street, you can see this wall is built up to a height of 5.5 feet high, and this one uses materials of block and glass top. Along 205 Chicago, once again, we see a combination of block with fencing, and this is also built to 5.5 feet high. At 312 3rd Street, once again, we see that there's block with glass on top, and this this wall is allowed to be built up to 5 feet tall. And then at 326 Crest, this indicates a wall that was allowed to be built, the block wall that was allowed to be built at 6 foot high. So as you could see, property owners can exercise, their rights to build above the 42-inch height limit within the front setback, but they need to go through this approval process of a CUP in order to do that. So by approving a project such as the subject we're discussing now wouldn't necessarily be a precedent, because the city has had a history of approving projects that may be more similar in other cases, and they may differ in other cases, but what is common between all of them is that there's a height, the height of 42 inches has been surpassed, and the walls were legally entitled to be built, and fences. As part of my analysis, the project complies with general plan and is compatible with the neighborhood. In addition, the proposed project is consistent with the City Council's strategic plan and economic development strategy to support the local business. Approval of the fence would allow them to secure their property where they have significantly invested and upgraded the existing building and parking lot. The proposed project is consistent with the requirements of the base zoning district, with approval of a CUP that matches the height of similar fences and walls on properties with street frontages in the neighborhood. And it consists of an open slat wrought iron design, which creates an attractive appearance. The visual character of the neighborhood will not be negatively impacted, because the fence facing Main Street will be set back 6 feet from the property line and 10 feet from the back of sidewalk. The landscaping as conditioned will be enhanced and maintained in the front of the fence, overall softening its appearance. Since the wrought iron fence is of a thin slat design, and driveway gates will be open during business hours, and visibility in and around the site will be maintained. Lastly, minimizing any visual obstructions. Lastly, the project will not be detrimental to the general welfare of persons working or residing in the vicinity to the value of the property and improvements to the neighborhood. So, in summary, the Plan Commission may either uphold the zoning administrator's decision with or without modification to take an alternative action. Should the Planning Commission approve conditional use permit 24-026, it may do so based on the following. It complies with the general plan goals and policies. It's consistent with the City Council adopted strategic plan and economic development strategy. the requirements of the base zoning district, as well as other applicable provisions of the municipal code, except where a CUP is requested. And it's compatible with the surrounding uses in proportion and scale and character. Let's see. So in hindsight, yes, that concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. And I'll note that the applicant is in the audience as well to answer any questions.
Thank you for your staff report. Commissioners, any questions?
Got a couple of questions. What's the approximate age? What is the age of the building?
From my recollection, I believe the building was built in I believe it's in the 1950s. I'd have to double check on that. And I believe it was, or it may be older, but I think it was then somewhat redesigned in the 90s.
Is it designated or is it a historical structure?
The subject property is not designated as historical.
The other question I would ask you in regards to the post office, is that federal property or is that public property? Or excuse me, is that federally owned property or is that privately owned property?
To the best of my knowledge, I believe that is federal property.
Okay.
Couple questions. The existing business does it meet the parking count? I think it's 1 per 250 square feet. I think it seemed like it was 2 parking spaces short. Is that correct?
Based on the square footage, the existing parking provided on site is basically the business is right at what they should be as far as providing the number of spaces that they have, which I'd have to refer to my notes, but okay, so the plans indicate that the parking is provided at 19 spaces. There's a total of 19 spaces on the property.
Okay, yeah, I think it requires 21 then, if it's over 5,000 square feet is what I saw online. Back to Commissioner Bush's comment about the post office, since that is, we're pretty sure that's a federally owned property, they really aren't required to obtain permits from the city of Huntington Beach. They can basically do what they want. Isn't that true?
That may be the case. However, they did, our history shows that they submitted for an entitlement for that project, so it had to go through an approval body before that could be built.
Okay. And then last question, they're proposing a modification to the parking lot. They're restriping it, reconfiguring it a little bit to meet the current code. So why aren't they asking for and I don't know what's appropriate, is it a variance or another conditional use permit? Because the parking lot is required to be set back 10 feet from the property line, and it's only set back 6 feet. So how did the parking lot position not be considered in this case, since it's part of the restriping is part of the approval process?
Chair, the parking lot exists, so they're not expanding it. So in other words, the 6-foot planter is how it exists now. They're not paving a larger parking lot.
So they're just restriping it?
They're just restriping it,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, the pavement's there, yeah. I didn't know if they were adding pavement or not, so, okay. Okay, any other questions from commissioners? Okay, with no further questions, now we'll open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
We have quite a few speakers, currently have 17. When I call your name, please come down. There are 2 podiums. Please bring the microphone down so that you can speak clearly into it. Please announce your name prior to speaking. Rick Wood, David Bailey, Maria Martinez, Michael D. Martinez, Vanessa Martinez, Blythe Curran, and Diane Zimmer. I will call the rest later.
Yeah. Oh, you know, with the number of speakers, can we please limit to 2 minutes since we've got a lot of number of speakers? Most of the letters we received, you could read in about 30 seconds. Can I do that?
You can. Traditionally, we should notice it before the meeting, but if we didn't know the number of speakers beforehand, it's all right to keep it to 2 minutes, yeah.
Okay. Let's keep it to 2 minutes, please.
I apologize, but as a representative of the applicant, I was going to ask for more time. May I have 4 minutes?
Okay, how about 3 minutes?
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Rick Wood. The Whitakers have owned their business in Huntington Beach for several years. Since purchasing the mortuary, the Whitakers have made extensive improvements, as the presentation has shown. After several months of construction, Tiempo Escrow moved into the Main Street location, and the original plan included electrical to the powered gates, which are part of this application. However, the Whitakers were not fully aware of all the zoning ordinances, so when they submitted their plans, there was many questions and many issues that went back and forth, so they asked me to assist because my wife is an employee of Tiempo Escrow. After our discussions with staff, it came down to the 3 issues that Marco has mentioned. One is being the fence is located within the required 10-foot setback from the property line. The gates did not allow the 20-foot stacking distance, and portions of the fence fall within the 10-foot site triangle. As mentioned, the fence along Main Street is roughly 6.5 to 7 feet from the property line. However, as discovered in the survey, the property line is not at the back of sidewalk, and the right-of-way line extends 4 feet beyond the back of sidewalk, which is generally not usual. Had the property line been at back of sidewalk, the fence would be 10 feet beyond, and this would not be an issue. So we asked staff, and we did all the calculations, and the original approval had the same parking count, so the city determined that it is not underparked, that the spaces provided are adequate based on the zoning code. We asked to get a variance to reduce the parking by 1 space, and staff did not support that. They suggested moving forward with a CUP. As he presented before, CUPs have been approved in previous instances. As far as the stacking distance goes, we decided to allow the gates to be open during business hours, so cars coming in, it's a one-way in, one-way out, so the stacking issue basically goes away. And if you'll notice in the piece that was delivered to you at the beginning of the meeting, on one of the pages you'll see the hot rods and handguns, and you'll notice that they have masonry pilasters with their fence and gates right at the property line. So even though we don't completely comply with the sight line, we did everything we could, extending the length of the gates in order to get as much of them out of the sight line. And staff felt that with the construction of the open slat fence, that the sight distance issue was not an issue. So we also noted that there are other examples which I provided here. For example, the fence on the corner of 5th and Olive is a very similar situation. It's over 42 inches. It abuts a residential home and their picket fence. So as stated in the presentation, this has been allowed in other locations. And briefly mentioned was why the property owners want to secure their property. An escrow company, as you know, provides significant amount of personal data in order for the client to obtain a loan. All of that data is stored inside the office, and it is prudent for them to have a secure facility. So part of the gate and fencing is to help secure their facility. That is all. Also, we know that they have had issues with vagrancy, and they've had issues with people defecating on the property. We also know that being close to the beach during the major events of the year, 4th of July, the air show, the surf contest, people are going to use that parking lot, plain and simple. And yes, they can sign it, and yes, they can do what they can to keep people out, but people are going to park there. And that's just going to add to additional calls to the police department.
I'm sorry, I believe it's been over 3 minutes, correct?
Cutting me off?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
My apologies. The timer is not making a sound, so we may wish to watch. Is the TV not on either? All right, hold
Thank
on.
you. Thank you.
Good
Next
evening,
speaker, please.
Commissioners. My name is David Bailey. I'm the architect and the applicant for the project. I'm just here today to answer questions or provide any additional information you might be looking for. To address the parking concern, we did do a tabulation. The overall office area is 42 square feet. So at the ratio of 1 to, sorry, small print. At a ratio of 1 to 250, we're required 18.16 stalls. We provided 19. One of those stalls is our compliant handicap accessible stall. When we started the project, I've done fence projects in other cities. We kind of followed suit what have worked in other communities like Fountain Valley, Mission Viejo. And a black metal picket fence is typically preferred because black is easier to see through than white. I know I've drove the community a couple times. I know there's a lot of white fencing and a mix of block walls as was presented in the photograph exhibits. We felt being set back 10 feet from the sidewalk with a landscape slope, we will enhance the landscape, that we are downplaying these gates. The gates remaining open during business hours will also soften that impact. And we're providing our 2 required accessible pedestrian gates. So we didn't, no disrespect to the neighbors around us. We thought we were on course for stuff that's been acceptable in the past. And that's I'm finished.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Martinez. I live on the block. We went through every correspondence, the 33 correspondence that were put up today, and all of them were strong. We acknowledge that. There was a reason this space was originally zoned the way that it was, to maintain balance within a residential community. I believe we can all agree that the Whitakers have done an excellent job in renovating this property, but that's not why we're here today. There was deterioration. We appreciate what they've done to the property, but this is not the issue at hand. The discussion is about zoning, setbacks, and the visual impact of this proposed changes. As reflected in the numerous opposition letters submitted to the city, the fence presents a significant eyesore. There's not a single business on Main Street, not one, besides the post office, which is federal, not one building has this type of aggressive architecture on our historic street. The proposed 6-foot industrial fence is out of character for the neighborhood and unnecessary for safety, given that employees leave by 5 p.m. The current zoning already allows for safe parking without the extreme measure. Additionally, after speaking with neighbors, one mentioned they didn't fully understand what they were signing and felt the way it was presented to them was unclear. Furthermore, 2 of the neighbors highlighted in the visual communications have since submitted letters of opposition. We are simply asking that the zoning remains as originally intended for the residential neighborhood. This is not about Steve or his character. This is not about us not liking our neighbors. This is about the zoning change to us, the unnecessary zoning change. We respectfully ask the Planning Commission to uphold the current zoning regulations. Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm speaking this evening in opposition to the proposed unnecessary and aesthetically undesirable wrought iron containment structure.
Please say your name.
Diana Zimmer. I am concerned that the applicant has used false pretenses to justify this application by stating that the employees are in danger. I found no evidence of reports of or responses to incidents by our HBPD relating to that location currently or prior to their acquisition of the property. I'm a member and frequent visitor to the Art Center, as well as Jan's, Alyssa, the Triangle Park, and I have friends who reside in that neighborhood. These locations are all within a very close proximity or adjacent to the applicant. Not one of these referenced facilities have found the need to be surrounded by fences and gates. At no time have I ever been concerned with my safety in this area or on our beautiful historic Main Street. Not in the past or today, as a senior woman, have I felt unsafe. Approval of this structure will set a precedent that will open the door for future aesthetic alterations, creating a most unpleasant visual of our coveted Main Street. There is concern that the structure will be constructed for the purpose of storage for surplus recreational vehicles. It is my understanding that this property is not zoned for such usage. When making your determination, please do not discount the visual impact and the disingenuous message this structure will emanate to residents and visitors alike. Thank you in advance for your consideration for denial of this application.
Thank you.
I'm going to call further speakers down. So again, Maria Martinez, Michael D. Martinez, Blythe Curran, Amy Whitaker, Bob Bolin, Deborah Struthers, Thomas Pence, Ted Zuba, Howard Kettler, Paulette Barlow, J. Michael Barlow, Liz Kirksey, and Jason Moberly Caruso. Please come down, please stay in line, speak at each microphone, and make sure to list your name before you start speaking. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker, please.
My name is Maria Martinez, and I'm a property owner on Main Street. And I was notified of this fence, and I'm here to object. And this is the reason why. Once any city or any commercial place, when they have those start building those kind of barriers, we all know that our property value goes down and down and down. Yes. And if it's because to curb violence or crime or vandalism, well, that's the city of Huntington Beach supervision. We're not that far. You guys are not that far from the police department. They have to supervise it. If there are homeless there, the police it needs to be supervised. The property will go down, and so is Huntington Beach downtown. This is a historic one. This is beautiful the way it is. It's the job of the city to supervise it. If homeless are coming, if they're vandalism, less than a minute, somebody will be there. And the most comparable slide that I saw about the fence, it was the post office. Who's gonna break into the post office? It's a federal building. It's a federal building. And also, if some of the neighbors will ask the city of Long Beach, can we build a 6-foot fence? You guys have to say yes, because this is the beginning of it. Every time there is that kind of barrier in any property,
please wrap it up.
That's how it is.
Thank you.
My name's Michael Martinez, and I'm a property owner on 605 Main Street. And the only comment I really have to say is that another way to look at maybe providing security is for the company to actually have a security set on the premises. It might be a lot cheaper. And the other matter is that, you know, it make people very happy not to have that big 6-foot fence there. It looks like a industrial mall from that rendition that I saw. So I'm against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Blythe Curran. I'm an employee of Tiempo Escrow and also a longtime resident of Huntington Beach. I grew up on 7th Street, about a block and a half down from the current building. I'm in support of this fence. I'm really here to just talk mostly about security, as I work in the office and I work in this business and have for a long time and understand the need for securing the premises. Somebody mentioned that we leave at 5 every day. That's not always the case. And it's dark out, and having a secured fence and being in the office and leaving at night, you know, personally makes me feel safer. Growing up here, this is a safe city, no doubt, but we've all been through many, many, many big events here with not great outcomes, rioting, various things that have gone on. And to see that happen or something like that during an event or something to our building would be devastating, considering of all the sensitive information that we have, you know, inside of our building. Growing up here and from the mortuary, you know, it's a trip to be so close. You know, my parents still live there. Unfortunately, they're not here tonight. They do also support this fence. And I just would like to say that I think everybody should really consider it. I think the artist renderings were a perfect example of what it can look like and blend in and make it feel safe for us to work there, safe for people to do business there, and still maintain that aesthetic of downtown Huntington Beach. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Amy Whitaker. My husband and I are the property owners and business owners at 625 Main Street. And we're coming to you tonight to ask you to respectfully approve the CUP 24-026 so we can complete our fence. We purchased that building in August of 2022, and when we bought it, we had hopes of securing a business or an opportunity, a place for our business, our family-owned business, to hold ground in Huntington Beach. We've been serving this community since 1981, and it's been a big deal to be able to secure that spot. We fell in love with it. It was a disaster. It was structurally unsound. It was covered in all kinds of crazy things: rats, bees, mold, breaking structure. I mean, it was bad. It was a bad situation, but we saw it. We fell in love with it, and we decided to move forward. So we have restored it 100%. We've brought it up to code. We've brought it up to ADA compliance requirements. We've made it a really nice, safe, secure space for our clients and for our employees and for the neighborhood, really. I mean, I'm kind of surprised to hear people say they think the property values are going to go down. We've put so much into that place and regenerated it that I would imagine the property values have probably gone up. I don't know for sure, but it seems like that would make sense. So that security fence that we're talking about tonight was originally part of our plan all along. It was proposed on the plans, it was submitted, it was approved, the electrical was put underground, everything was signed off in 2023. Again, we didn't know about all these issues with the variances, so things kind of came to the surface last April. But the thing about this fence is that it's a necessity for us. You know, this business that we run handles so many personal, private situations for people, bank accounts, social security numbers. I mean, one thing gets leaked, one person breaks in to steal any of that stuff, it's a problem. It's a huge problem that's irreversible for somebody. May I continue?
You can have my 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah. She's the property owner. Yes.
Thank you. We are beholden to the state of California as well as to our clients to safeguard this stuff. And that is where this fence comes in, because it really is making the difference. We have that ugly chain link fence up there right now, and we put it up once we found people defecating on the property, people breaking in to do drugs, people sleeping under our staircase. I mean, it was a mess, and we put that security.
Ma'am, I'm really going to have to ask you to, everyone should be getting equal time if possible, and getting.
Okay, yeah, please wrap it up. I was just
Okay,
giving
well, the bottom line
consideration
is,
for the property owner.
beyond the fence being secure, it is a thing with women too. I mean, I'm sorry if somebody here doesn't feel threatened. I feel threatened, and I've been assaulted, and I don't want to have that happen to anybody else. And so I would like to do everything I possibly can to make sure that it doesn't. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for letting me go over my 2 minutes. And I
Thank
hope
you.
that you guys will approve our CUP.
Next speaker, please. Go ahead.
My name is Thomas Pence. I fell in love with the city of Huntington Beach when I moved here 8 years ago. It's a beautiful city, and one of the goals of the Planning Commission, and even the City Council, is beautification of our city, and you're doing a marvelous job of that. My connection to this property is I live in Pacific Ranch, and my better half and I walk downtown regularly, and we always use Main Street. And starting 8 years ago, I observed a property that seemed to be in neglect and then appeared to be abandoned. But then one day, there seemed to be construction on the property. Someone was doing something with it. And you all have seen from the photographs what the Whitakers have done. It's a beautiful property. One Sunday morning, I was walking by, and Mr. Whitaker was opening the gate. He invited me to come in, and he showed me the building. And he told me what they had done and how proud they were of the property. And so from an aesthetics standpoint, the renderings were gorgeous. And just from what they've done to the exterior and interior of the building, you know these people are not going to put up an industrial wall that will be unpleasant to the neighborhood. The zoning administrator has found that the fencing will be compatible with the neighborhood. That's very important. But it's also important to understand that this is a commercial property, so comparing it to fencing at neighboring residential properties isn't comparing apples to oranges. As to security, unfortunately, that's become a very major concern these days. It's something that every business has to be aware of and be concerned with protecting their investment. The Whitakers have invested so much into this property. It is gorgeous. It is only fair for them to want to protect it, not only for themselves, but for their clients. Thank you very much, and let's reward these people for a job well done, and please approve the conditional use permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Deborah Struthers. I live at 623 7th Street, and I look at this building every single day. We have lived on 7th Street for a number of years now, and just last year got lucky enough to buy the charming single-story plan that is located directly behind this building. So one day when I was walking the dogs, I saw a man in the parking lot of this building, and I asked him, when are you going to tear down that ugly construction fence? And that is when I learned the story of the fence. As an architect, I truly appreciate the work that they did to the property. They cleaned up an old building with landscaping, new windows, paint, etc., and did so in a way that fits and honors the Main Street site. It's interesting that once I got a little more involved in the fence issue, I learned that people were arguing regarding the aesthetic not being compatible with the historic and charming coastal community that we live in. I have to disagree with that. Huntington Beach is charming because it is filled with a variety of styles. And if one drives up Main Street, either toward the beach or toward Trader Joe's, this is easily illustrated. As far as this fence aesthetic, you can find the same design all over our charming coastal city. So it is, in my opinion, it belongs. I actually find it amazing that the fence is getting any pushback at all, because as a neighbor that lives right across from the building, there are a couple of much uglier features that the city does not seem to have the willingness to fix. People park and sleep overnight in their cars right next to this building all the time. This I took this morning, this photo, of the building with one of our campers. This guy has been in his truck for the last 2 nights. So I called the police, and eventually they moved. But there's another guy, this resident, Tom, he even has a name, people know him. He's been living on our street for over 2 years. And both of these cars are his, and if you get a ticket on it, he'll move it a little bit. But these are the kind of people that are around. And so I understand Tiempo's escrow, their issue with security, because these are people I will not walk past. They pee in the sewer, they use hoses for showers, and those are the kind of people that are around there. So not be able to protect your property when they're not sleeping there on there with dogs or whatever the rest of us protect things with, it's definitely a thing that I think that they deserve to have. So I'm sorry to digress into the homeless situation of our city, but I support this project.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Kim Kramer. Kim Kramer, please also come down.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Liz Kirksey, and I'm here in support of Amy and Stephen Whitaker, the owners of 625, 627 Main Street. My husband and I live close by in this downtown area, and I've been a resident of Huntington Beach for 50 years. The Whitakers are good people. I love what they've done with their property. They've made a wonderful improvement to the property, which fits the neighborhood. I do agree we have some historical stuff around here, but we also have, as the person prior to me, we have a lot of different stuff going on, and as long as it keeps our neighborhood nice and makes it great, I think that that's what's important. Everything they've done so far has been very nice and tasteful. I think that the new fence is going to fit right in. So I guess I'm confused on why the request of the CUP 24-026, which would allow them to complete the installation of the security fence surrounding their property lot, has been held up thus far. They've completed all the necessary steps and gained approval along the way. They've done all of this from the beginning. They have more than a valid reason for wanting this type of a fence. They've designated a fence to complement the character of the property and the neighborhood, but also to provide the safety they require. As a commercially zoned property, they've taken into account the safety of their employees, guests, as well as protecting themselves from unwanted general public, unauthorized, or unwanted usage. It is for these reasons I also respectfully urge the Commission to uphold the original approval of the CUP 24-026 and to allow the Whitakers to proceed with their much-needed security improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for having me again. My name is Perry Clitheroe. Can go a little off script. I'm used to being one of the only ones in the room in favor of something, but apparently this building has well, I remember when it was a crappy little dust bowl, so this building has clearly made a lot of friends, and I'm not surprised about that. It's just as someone who walks and drives by it from time to time, it has been improved a lot already. I urge you to approve this change, which was already approved, and reject this appeal. The owners submitted their paperwork. They got an exception that's regularly given out, and they got it fair and square. These kinds of procedures, these kinds of appeals, they cause significant delays to businesses, and they can have a real negative effect on the business community. It creates a lot of uncertainty. On a side note, I grew up with in Southeast Huntington Beach with a 6-foot wrought iron slat fence, just like the one proposed. It had some nice finishing at the top, like spikes, so it was a little prettier, I think, but this one will be good too. And I'm looking forward to walking by it, and I'm sorry to the Whitakers, they may not like it, but I'm gonna run my fingers along it. It makes a great noise. I encourage everyone else to do it too. Have a good night.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kim Kramer. I live within 500 feet of the Tiempo escrow, and here I am today to support the proposed fence. I have read all the public comments, pro and con, and I'd like to address one of the major concerns expressed by those opposed to the fence. This is regarding the historic nature of the 600 block of Main Street. According to the city's most recent survey of all properties in Huntington Beach, the 600 block of Main Street is not designated as a historic neighborhood, nor are any of the properties on this block designated as a historically significant architecturally or in any other way. The city is filled with many designated historic properties, but not any of those are on the 600 block of Main Street. This designation of historic is also consistent with any definition you might find in a dictionary. I'd also like to note that the 600 block of Main Street is a mixed-use neighborhood of commercial and contemporary residential housing, accounting for 77% of the property use on that block, while the older homes on that block represent a minority of 23%. Additionally, all the residential neighbors on the 600 block, 62% of the neighbors approve of the proposed fence. This includes, based on the petition signed, this includes 100% of the neighbors on the 600 block who live directly across the street from Tiempo, with a direct view of the fence from their front yards and patios. This also includes 2 of the older homes directly adjacent to the Tiempo property. I would ask that the neighbors living in the older homes to please respect the majority of your neighbors, and please respect our businesses who bring great value to all of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jason Moberly Caruso, and I represent the Whitakers in Tiempo Escrow, and I'm obviously in support of the issuance of the CUP. We believe that staff got this right. We believe that the issuance of the CUP is fully supported by the facts, and the Whitakers' needs to, and really their obligations to secure and maintain their property. Just as a property owner, I've run into situations where I've had a property accessed by third parties, and then I have been on the receiving end of liability for not having essentially kept those folks out. And so I think that the situation faced by the Whitakers, the security issue, it's really a responsibility of theirs, and we would hope that the Planning Commission would assist them in discharging that responsibility. It's very common for private property parking lots like this to be fenced, particularly at night, given the potential for folks to enter that property, linger on that property, when there's no one around to control or necessarily report that. And I would just note that the Whitakers have already provided a series of concessions to address concerns for the fencing. They've already agreed to a reduction of the height of the fence to its current requested height. They've, at their own expense, agreed to enhance landscaping to again soften the character of the fence and to keep the fence open during business hours, which I think it's fair to note would essentially reduce the character of that fence by half the impact from the street level. And just to answer the chair's question regarding the post office. So I very much suspect that the post office is leased to the federal government on private land, and under the Building Act amendments of 1988, such lease facilities are in fact required to comply with local zoning ordinances. And even on the off chance that it is federally owned, it is a policy of the GSA to comply with local zoning ordinances. So appreciate the commissioner's time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Years, last 24 on Main Street. My wife and I go up Main Street and down Main Street quite often. Never has it ever entered our mind until today. I'm looking across the street from here, the school's got an iron gate all the way around the football field. Go down by the post office, the same thing. What this man has done is beautified it. And to put a fence up to protect him and his property, it's foolish to fight it. I don't understand. But I'm trying to put a positive word in for the man. He's done a heck of a job. It looks great. Come by my house, I'll give you the time. I got a clock out there on Main. Nobody's ever said thank you.
Thank you.
Last call for Bob Bolin, Howard Kettler, Paulette
speaker,
Barlow, and J. Michael Barlow.
My name's Howard Kettler. Thank you, commissioners, for giving me a chance to speak. I'm going to give you a little historical perspective on the property. That building that Tiempo Escrow is their business, was built in the 1920s. It was owned by my grandfather, his son Howard K. Smith, and my father William Kettler. And they operated the business of Smith's Mortuary into the 1960s. Since that time, when my grandfather sold the property, through a series of ownerships, it went into decline. And obviously, with the Whitakers buying the property and their renovation and remodeling of it, it has greatly enhanced the appearance in the neighborhood. In the 1950s, my grandfather went before the city council, or pardon me, the planning commission, I guess, or the building department, and they were allowed to build a 40-unit parking structure, actually parking lot, across the street from Smith's Mortuary with a block wall fence that was 5.5 feet high. Of course, since that time, it has been demolished and all the homes were built there on the 600 block east of 627 7th Street. But in any case, when the property was purchased by the Whitakers, my father was still alive. He passed away last year, and he was so relieved to see the renovation and the remodeling and the landscaping that was taking place. And it brought him great joy to see something reinvigorated in the neighborhood. He and my grandfather and his son were custodians of that property for, like I said, over 4 decades. And they did their best to do the city of Huntington Beach proper by caring for the property and serving the city of Huntington Beach. And I can't think of anything better than for them to be approved for this ordinance. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I knew his father. He died at 102 years old last year, and Smith's Mortuary was iconic. My name is Dave Garofalo. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, staff. First, I want to say thank you, because what you guys do is it's tough. You're basically volunteers. You try to keep everybody happy, and it's impossible. So I'm here tonight. I live directly across the street from Tiempo Escrow. Every morning that I get up and walk out my front door, that's what I see. My front door and their front door match. And I've lived there for 25 years. 2 years before Tiempo bought the place, it was vacant. And I personally experienced that parking lot being a mecca for fireworks every 4th of July, campers every weekend, people sleeping there overnight, and the mortuary did not have any fencing. So I'm here not just to agree with the zoning administrator's approval for permit 24-026 and those 3 bullet points, but I'm here to share the personal side of that, the economic side. That fence that they're asking for, and if you haven't visited the site, you wouldn't know this, is built on a berm. Now, I'm 80 years old and I'm 5'4". If I stand on the berm, I could go over the fence that he would have to build if you didn't approve it. So his request is very practical. And I totally agree with the fact that we want security there. We don't want people sleeping there at night. My house has been broken into. We live at the beach, and I mean, literally, while I was sleeping, somebody broke into my house 4 or 5 years ago, stole my car. And it's a nice neighborhood. So, as to the best of my knowledge, every single neighbor of mine on the even side of the street, across the street, is in favor of doing this. This gentleman that owns the place, he came to us, every neighbor, is this color okay? Is this roofing material okay? What if we do this and that? He collaborated with us on every aspect of the project, including the fence. Thank you very much. I hope you approve the zoning administrator's recommendation.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
Outside of the 3 who did not come down, we have no other speakers.
Oh.
Bob Bolin? Bob Bolin, Paulette Barlow, J. Michael Barlow.
Okay. Next speaker, please.
Members of the Planning Commission, my name is Bob Boland, and I've been in business downtown in Huntington Beach since 1960. I'm one of the oldest business owners that kept going and going and going, and I'm here to speak in favor of this project. Let me ask you a question. You probably all own a house. I don't know how many of you own businesses in downtown Huntington Beach, but it's very difficult to have a business in downtown Huntington Beach, but I'm sure you're homeowners. Do you have a fence around your house? And why do you have that fence? To keep out people? Yeah. Well, downtown Huntington Beach, we have a major problem called homeless. Just recently, I had this guy, I mean, he was just scarier than heck. Tattoos all over his head, body, everything. And he painted the back window of our building with a paint. The paint had acid in it. It cost me over $1,000 to have that acid buffed off. The homeless situation in downtown Huntington Beach is real. I have people sleeping behind my building, sleeping next to the building, and I love that fence on the post office, by the way. I don't care if it's oversized. I don't care if they got permits. I don't care. I love that fence because we have you ever seen the artwork that's on the edge of our building? We don't get any graffiti on it. It's a federal offense to go on that site. And most of the problems happen at night. That's when they come at night. During the day, it's not too bad, but at night. But that fence is a security fence. And if you look at this whole idea complies with the general plan goals and policies, consistent with City Council adopted strategic plan and economic development strategy. We need businesses like this down here. I'm in the real estate business. I'm in the surfboard business. And that surfboard behind you is a travesty. It should be a Greek surfboard, by the way. We'll have to work on that and see what we can do with that, you know. But in any event, that fence is a security fence. There's a lot of women that work in that place. They work at night. I got to wrap it up. I got to go. Okay. Just vote in favor of it. It's real easy. Common sense.
Thank you.
By the way, one more little thing since I'm the last.
Do we have any more speakers? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay, there are no more speakers. We'll close the public hearing. And commissioners, we will now deliberate this item. Anybody have any comments?
Well, all right, so if it's okay, I'll start then.
Yep.
So yeah, I did receive quite a few emails from neighbors that were unhappy with the fence and the changes. And I did speak, like I said, with the applicant as well as the person that put the appeal, Councilman Kennedy. I also have a lot of experience dealing with these issues that have been brought up today, and I will tell you I'm very surprised and impressed to see how much in favor the speakers came out to speak on this issue. I was expecting a much different lopsided presentation. I was expecting most of the people to be against it, and this is going to be a terrible thing for our community. It's going to break up the character, and that's not what I heard today. And I will tell you that I do also have experiences with people that have this axe to grind when it comes to it's not the way they like it, so they're going to scream and cry about it, but 6 months later, no one even talks about it again because it doesn't really matter. But 6 months from now, that business is still going to be in business, and they're still going to have to deal with whatever problems we possibly create by not necessarily approving this request. So it's difficult for me. I did want to ask one question before I turn over to my other commissioners here. Someone mentioned something about parking vehicles overnight, recreational vehicles. There was a concern of that nature, and I also will tell you that's always a big red flag for me as well, because I've seen this happen. Once you actually issue the CUP, you lose all control, basically. I mean, it's really hard to kind of bring it back, is what I'm saying. My question is there anything in here that prohibits overnight long-term parking? In other words, is there a way, at least I'm thinking to myself, if it's truly a legitimate concern, I would want to see something in there that would prohibit, I'm not talking about, one person left their car overnight because maybe they didn't want to drive home that evening and someone else drove them home. I'm talking more of, 2, 3 days, 4 days, a week, a month. Is there anything that would prohibit them from doing that? Is that a legitimate concern? I'm asking staff because they're the ones that issued the CUP.
Currently, we don't have any provision that would not allow them to do that. However, the Planning Commission can suggest basically a condition to be placed on the property that would prohibit overnight parking or RV parking, something of that nature.
Anyway, so for my fellow commissioners, I'm certainly leaning towards approving this, but I think that we might want to consider putting in some sort of stipulation if we were to approve it that would not allow for that, just in case. Again, once it's done, but I think it might make sense. Anyway.
Does that require a motion and a second if we add that stipulation?
That's correct. And any other conditions you would want to suggest for the project.
Go ahead.
So I guess my concern, a little bit of concern would be, that parking's valuable too, right? So would that be used, would that be sold, for big events, 4th of July and things like that?
Any other comments?
Yeah, I had made the comments about the post office and the other comment that was made about the high school. It's just as an idea that, so we're all aware, and I'm sure we are, that federal supersedes local unless there is some type of agreement, and the same with the state when it comes to high schools and stuff like that. Having had that experience with the post office in Long Beach, we didn't have the stipulation, so that's why I bring the question up, because if it isn't defined, we have no control over them. That's the whole point of that.
Yeah, I've just got a comment to make here, and there was an email written by the Whitaker's legal counsel to the Director of Community Development, Jennifer Villaseñor, and it basically says that the zoning administrator approved the permit subject to the foregoing conditions supported by findings required by Municipal Code Section 24110, but that section in particular mentions the general welfare of persons working or residing in the vicinity. And, whenever I hear general welfare, alarm bells go on. And it could mean specifically the aesthetic. So I had that to consider. After listening to comments, I can see that the security is a concern, especially considering the information that's, that this particular company has on its premises and the staff. But I've been up and down those streets for 24 years and never been harassed or cajoled. In fact, very rarely do I see anybody but dog walkers up and down there. But again, I'm not female, so I wouldn't have that problem. That's all I've got to say, really.
Yeah, I'm personally, I'm not against the security fence for sure, but I read all the letters that came in, and the people in favor were just saying, Whitaker's are great people, done a great job with the property, please approve the fence. The other people opposed to the project are more in line with my concerns, is that it'll set a precedence for other developments. I don't want to name cities, but when you go into certain cities and you go into a commercial area, and they do have wrought iron fences right up to the property line, and one of our speakers brought that point up, that sends a really poor message, I think, about our city. I'm not opposed to the fence. The fence is encroaching in the setback. We're only talking about 5 feet or so. I tried to add up the dimensions, but the dimension strings actually overlapped in the front, so I couldn't tell for sure. But it seems to me like there's a better compromise, eliminate 1 parking stall, or just simply take the 12-foot parking stalls that are on the far ends, shrink those down to the standard 9-foot stalls, and boom, you've got an extra 6 feet. You can move the fence over. You could reverse your flow, your traffic flow could come in from the alley. You're showing a one-way, so you could come in from the alley, so the inbound doesn't need a view site, then the outbound can use the diagonal of the parking spaces. And it just seems to me that it would be pretty easy to reconfigure the site plan and put up your fence. And then you could build a nice decorative wall that you would probably rather have anyway. And it sounds like the neighbors would rather have that than a fence that you would see in cities that I would like to not name. But my biggest concern is that we have codes, we have very generous building codes and zoning ordinances that surprise me. I've been in land development my whole life, and Huntington Beach has very generous setbacks that are very good to the developers, and to see those encroached upon, just to me, doesn't seem reasonable. It seems like looking at the plans, the solution seems simple. You just move it back, and I think that would eliminate the need for the conditional use permit.
So, all right, and again, I was basically of the same thought coming in here regarding, setting precedent and, making modifications. But I will tell you, there's a few things that kind of caught my ear, and I want to just put them out there, and then you can let everyone else speak and take this to a vote. But I will tell you, first I heard nuisance property, 4th of July, fireworks being lit off. I could just picture it now. I don't live there, I live in Sunset Beach, so I don't see it, but I know it's absolutely happening. I'm hearing from the people that live directly across. I'm also thinking about the setback, like you said. It's 6 feet from the property line, but it's really 10 feet from the sidewalk line. Is that correct? Am I correct on that? Is that?
You are correct.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. Yes, what's another couple feet? I agree with you. But what I'm also saying is this is a little unique because normally the property line is right there where the sidewalk is, and in this case it's not. So, sometimes exceptions make sense. And again, I came in here with a little bit more of a bias towards, I'm hearing from residents, they don't want it, they don't like it. I didn't hear that. I heard from residents that live there right across the street. I know what nuisance properties are, and they're not nuisance properties all year long. 4th of July is only one time a year, but there's other events that happen, and these teenagers were already having problems with their electric bikes and doing crazy wheelies and doing crazy stuff. All I'm saying is you're leaving an open space that is not protected to low. I'm speaking out loud now. I'm really saying that I think we really need to. The city did come out. It's not like we're not setting the precedent. The city came out and looked at all these factors. They've given us reasonable checkoffs for why we can approve this, and we're not setting precedent. It's not a historical building. It's not a historical site there. So all I'm saying is I'm on the same wavelength you are when it comes to why we should really try to stay firm on the policy that's set, our zoning. But in this case, it just seems like we're really grinding them down for I think the overall neighborhood's going to benefit. And even the ones that don't like it, I'm telling you, 6 months from now, I do not believe they're going to give it one more thought, and they might be very happy that it came through if it is approved, because they will have less areas for people to kind of hang out and get into. So that's where I look at it. And I love the city, and I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so happy to be a part of this body here. I'm just saying I would hate to see us make I think the other mistake, of not approving it has more consequence than approving this. That's my thought. So.
Commissioner McGee?
I'm in agreement with Ben over there. When I came in here, after seeing all the correspondence from people who really didn't want this. I had a bit of a bias. And even though this is a commercial building, it's kind of a, what's the word, promontory? It's like a promontory into that residential neighborhood. We had a lot of people who didn't like it. They thought that maybe it was a little too austere, you know, that it gave the impression that the place wasn't safe. But we are never safe anyway. But after listening to some of the people that I know definitely live in that neighborhood and have spoken, I'm still on the fence, you know, on the pun. And that's all I got to say at the moment.
Yeah, I would say that all of us were probably of the same mind because we got most of the emails. And, you know, we live in the community. And yes, we do have gates around our homes. There's an intention for it. And I think the most important thing that I heard was from the people who live in the neighborhood, who are living day to day. They know what, they are the pulse. They are the ones that we'll call the PD. They are the ones who have the vibe of what's going on in the neighborhood. And for us to come in and kind of tell them, what's the compromise here? Because we're really talking 30 inches, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to is, are we willing to give them 30 inches? Or are we going to make them jump through more hoops? Are we going to grind them down? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And I think they've already jumped through enough hoops, in my opinion.
I just want to say one more thing, and that's when it comes to the aesthetic, I actually think what these people have done with the building is actually fantastic. The gentrification they've done is beautiful compared to the way it was before. So we have that going for us. So I'll leave it stand there for the time being.
I did want to ask if the commissioners would entertain the amendment that I did want to put that stipulation in about no commercial parking. I'm sorry? Well, the motion I would make would be that there would be, that no, that the parking lot would not be able to be used for commercial leasing, and overnight parking would be limited to very, very short term. Those less than 5 days or so.
Second.
Wait, can we use the word outside storage? Because that would include storage of vehicles.
That's fine. I'm happy to amend it to that. Yes, absolutely fine. Okay.
Yeah, you'd want to use outside storage.
So are you clear on what we're asking to be added to the CUP?
Are we making a straw motion where we're just voting on that condition, or are we making a full motion including that condition?
Well, I would like to put that in there as a condition before we vote to approve the before we take a vote on whether to approve the CUP as well.
Okay, you're welcome to make a straw vote motion wherein you make that motion to add that condition and everyone can vote on it.
Great.
And then when you make the actual motion, ask to include the straw vote if it passes.
Okay, great. So can I get a second to my straw vote motion?
I already seconded it.
Okay, great. Okay, and then all those in, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Can we have a roll call on our straw vote, please?
Give me 1 second.
Sorry about that. I was overstepping.
It's okay. All right. So, Commissioner McGee. Aye. Okay. Vice Chair Bush.
Aye.
Chair Thenis.
Aye.
Commissioner Goldberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Babineau.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Wood is abstaining, and Commissioner Pellman is absent. That motion carries.
Okay, are there any comments? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt help me out with the language here.
To find the proposed project categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15303, Class 3, and approve conditional use permit 24-026 with suggested findings and conditions approval, including the straw vote.
Including the straw vote as recommended by staff.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Commissioner Pellman is absent. Commissioner Wood is recusing. Commissioner Goldberg?
Yes.
Chair Thenis?
No.
Commissioner McGee?
Aye.
Commissioner Babineau?
No.
And Commissioner Bush?
Aye.
Okay, we have 3 ayes. Chair Thenis and Commissioner Babineau, no. Motion carries.
The Planning Commission's action on this item is final unless an appeal is filed to the City Council within 10 calendar days. An appeal must include the reasons for the appeal, any required fee, and shall be filed with the City Clerk within 10 calendar days.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at the notes I write down.
Hello, we're still in the middle of a meeting, so if you would please take your conversations outside, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, quiet down, please. Can we please have order in the chambers?
If everyone would please exit the building or sit down, please. Thank you. We have a meeting to continue with. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is the consent calendar, and there is one set of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes submitted? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. I'll second.
Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, who motioned? Thank you. Goldberg, and then who seconded?
I did.
Sorry, I can't hear you guys.
I get it.
Wood seconded.
Okay. Commissioner Pellman is absent. Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner Goldberg?
Aye.
Chair Thenis?
I don't know what
Aye.
Commissioner McGee?
Aye.
Commissioner Babineau?
Aye.
Vice Chair Bush?
Aye.
Okay. We have 6 ayes, 1 abstention. Motion carries.
Okay, next on the agenda are the planning items. Can staff provide a report?
Yes, Chair. Currently, we do not have any items for the April 8th meeting.
Okay, before we close the evening, planning commissioners, do you have any comments to provide? We'll start on my right.
Did we, the question I had was for the minutes of last meeting. We approved those, right?
We just approved them right now.
Good. Just
The fact that there's nothing on the planning, does that mean that we are officially canceling that meeting, or is there still time for something to be added for the planning commission meeting on the 5th?
Most likely it'll be canceled.
All right, this is the last item on the agenda. We hereby adjourn to the next Planning Commission on maybe Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. All right. Good job, guys.